Gavin, do you want to mosey on over to the Young Turks and see what we're working with over there? See what our handiwork has resulted in?
Yeah, 100%. Before we take a look at the just absolutely pathetic, pitiful view count, do you want to take a look, Zach, at just the first like minute or two from last night's live stream? You can see the incredibly awkward start that the show got off to.
Oh yeah, do you have it pulled?
I do. Yeah, it's right over here. Just another sign, I think, of the sort of atmosphere there, the mood, the lack of fucks given from everyone. But in this case, specifically Cenk Uygur. So not only take a listen to what Anna's about to say concerning her co-host, but also then what she just immediately barrels into as far as her tired talking points and kind of both sides bullshit. This is crazy, guys.
Welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Anna Kasparian. And for today's show, I will not be doing a solo hour. Cenk Uygur is running late, but he will be here very soon. However, I will be covering a really important update to possible Medicare cuts by the House GOP in the first segment. Later in the show, along with Cenk Uygur, we'll cover a whole host of other stories in the news today, including the absolute fury that President Donald Trump has been met with in regard to the possibility of him accepting a $400 million plane from the Qatari royals. Seems like there is bipartisan anger in regard to that very notion. And it's really interesting because you don't see the same type of anger when it comes to other forms of government corruption. I mean, I remember the story about homeboy Henry Cuellar up in Texas, a Democratic lawmaker, of course, allegedly taking bribes from Azerbaijan. Whatever happened to that? Didn't really hear much about that. There wasn't all this anger and fury about a foreign government bribing allegedly a member of Congress. Now, of course, Bob Menendez, a Democratic senator, ended up getting prosecuted and convicted for taking illegal bribes from foreign countries and will now serve time in prison as a result of that. But that story didn't get nearly as much attention as this story involving the Qatari royals and their relationship.
That is a damn lie. Did you live under a rock? One, I immediately started pulling up the Bob Menendez story as she started. What are you talking about? On both sides of the aisle, people hate brazen political corruption. That is one of the things that Donald Trump used to understand. Do you guys remember? Maybe you don't remember, but in 2016, he stood on the debate stage with the rest of the Republican Party and he said, I own all of you guys. I donated to all of you. And he positioned himself as a guy that could not be bought or sold. Now, obviously, he's done an about face on that. He's completely turned around and he's willing to accept anything. He violated the emoluments clause countless times during his first term. But to act like the Democrats weren't pissed off by Bob Menendez, that was a national scandal that everybody covered.
Yeah, and also it's like the reason why more people are talking about Donald Trump's brazen corruption is because he's the fucking president of the United States. Most people don't know who Bob Menendez or Henry Cuellar is, like just average normies that aren't from those people's like specific districts. Like, yeah, no one knows or cares about Bob Menendez. He's just some, rich old white guy who's in DC, like to 99% of people. Yeah, they're not going to care as much about the president of the United States, freaking Donald J. Trump, someone that everyone in the entire world knows who that is, and who's taking this deal from Qatar in the most obviously corrupt, cartoonishly corrupt way, accepting a palace in the skies, a palace in the air, or whatever they're calling this new Air Force One jet. So yeah, it's completely ridiculous. Not even 2 minutes in to the main show, Zach, she was already serving up some both sides bullshit, acting like, this is nothing new. Democrats do it all the time.
Yeah, and again, not to make everything about the view count, not to make everything about how many eyes are on, the broadcast, but I want everybody to know that they uploaded an entire full Young Turks live show, an hour of content, explosive report reveals truth about Pam Bondi. Conservatives call out Trump. And it got the same level of engagement as the video that Gavin and I did with no promotion eating steak for dinner. Okay, so things are not looking good over at the Young Turks. This is a channel with 6 million subscribers, more than 6 million subscribers, 6.06 million subscribers. Okay, and they're getting 6,000 views on the upload of their main fucking show on a Tuesday night when there's not that much competition going on. Like, what the heck? It wasn't like it was Friday and everybody had already checked out for the weekend. This was major news. If you are just a for real ass news outlet Like Cenk supposedly wants to be, even if you're nowhere near the progressive media space, if you're a populist at all, you would expect that you are going to be bringing out a large audience to talk about how insanely corrupt that Qatar jet deal would be. Right? Or to talk about the negotiation with Saudi Arabia, to talk about how we're just pushing through a massive weapons deal, or talk about whether or not you think that Witkoff and Trump are actually going to negotiate a ceasefire in Gaza that's permanent, and whether or not you think that that's actually going to happen. But you're not attracting anybody to pay attention to you because nobody thinks that you believe anything that you say anymore. So it's just absolutely fucking pathetic that I mean, these people would even show up to work. I mean, and that's why we're getting the lousy performance from Anna that we are, is because she knows nobody is going to watch this at all.
Yeah. Do you want to throw up those views on screen so people can take a look at just how embarrassing the situation has gotten? Like, I know we've been talking about this for a while, guys, but it just keeps getting worse. There's really no recovery in sight for the Young Turks. The view count is in literal free fall. This is completely embarrassing, totally humiliating. Zach, as you pointed out, the only clip that got any actual play was them giving credit to Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson, who I guess, they're probably making a decent point about how terrible Israel is or whatever. But at that point, that's the only audience TYT can latch onto. They don't get any views at all when they're talking about like so-called, progressive stories or whatever. Like, they're talking about David Hogg. No one cares.
Oh, 100%. And you guys, you have to understand the reason that that video in particular is blowing up is because Anna and Cenk have been making the rounds on conservative media, right? What do a lot of conservatives who might be interested in the shows that Cenk and Anna have been appearing on want to watch? Maybe Tucker Carlson, maybe Dave Smith talk about, anti-Zionism, talk about the, Zionist propaganda and destroying that. Well, that's because they're on an algorithm, right, that's going to promote Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith. Now, Cenk has successfully gotten into that algorithm and still only like 70,000 views on a video like that, which is nothing for a channel of this size. Like 70,000 views is a good video. Gavin and I are happy with it. We're two guys. We don't have any employees, and we can tell you exactly how much money a video like that will make you. It's not a ton. And it's definitely not enough to have 75 employees. It's not enough to have a studio. It's not enough to pay the electric bill.
It's not even enough to fund our next steak dinner, bro.
Nope.
It's fucking barely anything. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally wild.
You're talking like max $300 max. Yeah. And that's if you have a really long view duration, like for an hour-long video. And that's before taxes. That's before, everything. Like there's just no way that that's enough money for you to survive.
Yeah. And they're also just not putting out as much content.
They're putting so much of it behind membership, and look, they're trying to even bomb our style of like making really like cringy looking faces to try.
I think that they're just letting YouTube auto select the thumbnail. They're being so lazy, they're not even putting a thumbnail. They're just letting YouTube auto select a random screenshot from their video. That's what that is.
That's even worse.
But yeah, I mean, these views are dog shit, bro. 22,000. Like 39,000.
That's actually pretty good. This is like 7.1K, 16K.
It's totally pathetic. And like you guys saw from that clip at the beginning of yesterday's live show, Cenk couldn't even get to the freaking Poly Market studio on time. Anna's like, hey, here I am alone in the studio. Cenk is stuck in traffic or something. Yeah. And it's like, it's one thing when we're late. Like, we lean into that. We're like, oh, oops, we were...
Vanguard runs on punk time.
Exactly. We were smoking a bong bowl, whatever. But their whole shtick is like, we're in a studio and we have real graphics and a producer. And, we show up to work on time, supposedly. Apparently not. Cenk was, stuck in the In-N-Out drive-thru,
It would make sense. You kind of mentioned this. It would make sense. Like, okay, this is why Anna is spreading her wings. This is why she's going over to her take. This is why she wants to get in with PBD, because she just does not see this as a viable way to have a career and maybe even an income down the line. I mean, I have been predicting that by the midterms, we're not going to be seeing a daily show from the Young Turks anymore, at least not in the way that we currently see it. And she goes over and she really puts her weight behind this her take thing, but it's not working for her, guys. If you go to the video uploads, right, you have 2 full live streams, right? And then you have the clips. Anna, so far, not being selected for any of the clips. What did you guys hear from me? I'm sorry, but let's reel back the time a little bit. We reacted to episode 2, and I said, guys, right now, if I'm a producer, right, I compared it to watching NBA Summer League. if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, who's going to be the breakout star? Who's going to be the guy that actually can contend? He's going to compete. He's going to rise the ranks, and he's going to learn how to hang in the NBA with the big dogs quickly, right? I would say Jillian Michaels showed up. She had a POV. She actually committed to her position and where she thought she was right when she thought she was right. And she was willing to, be like, okay, I see your POV when she thought she was wrong, but she always engaged. She always brought charisma. You could tell that she'd been in front of a camera multiple times before. I also said that Lindy Lee was annoying as fuck, but that still evokes an emotion. So those would be the two people that I would pull from the panel to be like, okay, I'm going to continue to promote you guys. And then, man, that's exactly what they did. I don't know if they're tuning into the Vanguard, but they pulled Lindy Lee and Jillian Michaels for the first two, and then they pulled Jillian Michaels and the one Dangerfield lady for the other one, none of which include Anna Kasparian, who originally had a bigger picture in the front than the former woman over here. So it just looks like she's getting bumped to the back of the lineup a little bit.
Yeah. Or she's like so embarrassed to even be a part of this that she told Patrick Bet-David not to put her on the thumbnail. She's like, I'll be in the video, but don't put me in the branding, for Christ's sake. I mean, she hasn't even announced it yet on her Twitter. She hasn't retweeted anything about this. She hasn't mentioned it once on the TYT main show. Like, if one of us was doing some exciting new project that was apart from the Vanguard, you think we would like bring it up at least once on the show, be like, hey, dude, super cool that that new project you're a part of, or so, like, you'd think that it would get brought up at least at one point or retweeted by Anna. But as I said, if you go to her Twitter page right now, still no mention. But of course she is in these videos, which is totally embarrassing. Former Democrats confess the 2020 election was rigged. Imagine, Zach, you're Anna Kasparian or any left-wing commentator. Imagine letting the disgusting right-wing fucking propagandists use you in such a sick way in service of a blatant fucking lie that only erodes public trust in our democracy and our elections and some of the only institutions which theoretically still serve us. It's absolutely disgraceful. It's sickening. If I was Anna Kasparian, even if I hated the left, I would be so opposed to being a part of this. Like, I get having your issues with the left, blah, 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 whatever. But this, you're going to participate in this? Former Democrats confess the 2020 election was rigged? Like, that's what you want to be a part of? It's fucking disgusting.
And that's why I just don't think that she would be like, don't use me in the thumbnails for clips. I can't imagine her negotiating that. I think
I was mostly kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, bro, she got snubbed, man. She got bumped. Everybody was like, this lady's not charismatic enough. She is too malleable. She doesn't have enough conviction. She doesn't bring a unique enough POV. She's kind of all over the place as far as her ideology goes. And she won't just commit to being the lefty, and she won't just commit to being the enlightened centrist. She's like kind of difficult, and she always looks like a deer in the headlights. It looks like the lights are a little too bright for her, and she's not meeting the moment. So of course they cut her out of the thumbnail because they're not promoting her. She's just a backup dancer now. She's just a backup singer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very bizarre because, it's obvious that she's unhappy at TYT. When she's on air, she doesn't seem particularly passionate, at least not as much as she used to be. Clearly, she doesn't have much of a loyal audience or fan base that shows up for her on any given, TYT live stream.
And neither does Cenk anymore.
Neither does Cenk. It's totally a vacuum of actual, genuine, enthusiastic support. Right? Like, there are technically some people watching, but in the same way that there are technically people watching CNN at any given time. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, if CNN's on, or ABC or NBC, or like one of these just completely useless fucking background noise channels, like, yeah, they're on. They do get some views, but most people watching those aren't like, I'm a huge ABC fan. I don't even know a single anchor on ABC. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's increasingly what TYT is becoming, but just in the online digital space, and even less relevant than one of those guys. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, TYT, has nothing on a CNN or an ABC, but in the same way, there's just no loyal support for them. No one's going to be buying their merch anymore because it doesn't feel like there's like a mission. It doesn't feel like, the TYT army anymore. Now it just feels like this boring show where the hosts barely like each other anymore, and they definitely don't like the audience.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I feel like if online media has one role, like, I think it's kind of bifurcated, right? You can either have the role of, I want to keep people informed, and that would be like the Kyle Kalinskis, that would be the Crystal Balls, that would be the David Doles, right? Sam Cedar to a large extent, although he sometimes dabbles in the thing that I'm about to mention. There's another role in the left-wing progressive movement, which is that you have to keep people engaged, right? You have to keep people interested. You have to keep people's eye on the ball, right? Your job is to make sure that people don't get bored and give up. Your job is to make sure that people don't lose belief. Your job is to keep the engine burning, keep people fired up, keep people ready to fight back and resist. That's more where Gavin and I come in. We try and inform you guys, right? We try and entertain you guys, but really we want to keep you guys fired up, and we want you guys to stay committed to the goal and make sure, hey guys, we can't give up on this progressive project no matter how rough it gets. What Cenk forfeited was something so powerful, was what he had the ability to do both. He had the ability to go up there, inform and inspire. He had the ability to feed the fucking engine with hot coals and make people ready to continue to fight and also break news to them. He had it all. And instead, he became, as Gavin put it, background noise, right? What Cenk didn't understand is that if you are going to be played in airports, it's because you have to be so vanilla. It's because you have to be so milquetoast. It's because you have to be so standard fare that nobody's probably going to seek you out, but nobody's going to be offended by you. You are, the kind of painting that would be hung in a dentist office, right? You're paint by number. Okay. You're not creative. You're not inspiring. You're not doing anything that could potentially move somebody to feel one way or another. You are a baseline information giver. And that's bullshit. And that's going to lose your audience, because the other promise that you had to them was that you were going to inspire them, and now you don't. And one of the things that I kept seeing routinely in our comment section after we interviewed Kyle was that Kyle has kind of taken the mantle as the new Cenk Uygur of the left, because he's somebody that's very passionate. He's somebody that is willing to resist the bullshit at every turn. He gets worked up. He's an excellent ranter, but he also informs them. You know what I mean? So I just think it's an interesting abandoned ship moment for Cenk, where he threw away something so spectacular, so powerful, so unique in an effort to get something that was so cheap and lousy.
True. And that's a great point, too, about how Kyle's kind of taken that mantle of like getting the left riled up. Cenk used to do that. And same with Anna. Like, you tune into TYT and it really felt like, whether you liked it or not, you were going to get riled up. You were going to get fucking angry and passionate, but in a good way, not in like a negative, like, doomer pilled way. I feel like Kyle does now play that role. And weirdly, when you tune into TYT, it's like they're trying to rile you down. They're like, yo, like, calm down. It's not exactly. It's okay. Like, don't freak out. Everything's fine. We can just get a beer with these people. We don't have to fight them. We can just, fucking be friends with them, or like, you can't beat them. Join them
with kindness.
Yeah. It's like, and it's just not one. That's not accurate. No, that's not how we're going to get out of this situation. You have to fight to win. But also, who wants to hear that? It's not really an entertaining, call to tune into. Let's all be friends. And those people that you really hate that are destroying the country, they're actually not so bad. Let's have a beer. Let's all sit down and play Yahtzee. Like, fuck you.
Sure, they're Nazis and they hate all non-white people, but you hate Nazis. And so isn't that really the same thing? It's like, no, it's not the same thing, Cenk.
Calling people racist is actually the new bigotry.
Yeah, right.
Why are you so bigoted against bigots? Or something? Like, what?
Well, woke.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there.